Hi everybody, this is Dino from Prehistoric Facts, and it's a special episode today. Sorry for the racket noise right here. It's my fan, and it's basically just going off like crazy right now. But in the special episode we're going to be talking about today is an animal called Paraceratherium. But even though the latest research actually has actually said that this is actually an Indricotherium, so pretty much we'll be talking about Indricotherium. Alright, Indricotherium in Greek or Latin means Indric beast. And I don't know what Indric means, so I kind of actually need to learn about that one. And basically, the fossils have been found in Asia. It's in the Oligocene epoch, 33 to 23 million years ago. About 40 feet long and would have weighed between 15 to 20 tons. It's a herbivore. And basically the characteristics of Indricotherium is that it's a really big and tall mammal. Because this is what this is. It's a mammal. Now, and the reason why I say it's a mammal is because you're actually going into the Cenozoic era in the Oligocene epoch. Now, epochs are usually pretty much designed in pretty much in the age of mammals, but even though there are a little bit of like epochs in the Mesozoic, but even though we don't use them that much, it's because we actually tend to actually kind of go with like what the public actually can actually understand as the periods, in the eras, those would actually make a little bit more sense to the public. But anyway, to Indricotherium. Indricotherium is actually a relative of rhinos. And basically, the reasons why is because you see, when this thing was discovered, everybody some paleontologists thought it might have been actually a giant elephant, kind of like a mammoth or something like that. But mammoths didn't really totally evolve until like pretty much the beginning, before the Pleistocene. So pretty much, this was not an elephant. And there are some paleontologists way back in the 1930s and in the 40s still thought that it was actually an elephant. But even though, as more bones were discovered, they actually found out that these bones are actually kind of very similar to rhinos. And the reasons why is because the skull of an Indricotherium is actually very similar to a rhino's, but even though without the boss. And you see, Indricotherium does not have a boss. It doesn't. And what the boss is basically like this rough, bony texture of where something has attached to the bone. Like when you actually look at a rhinoceros skull, you actually see that there's a boss, pretty much a boss, like a rough, bony texture right in the nose, and basically that's where the horn is actually attached. And in rhinoceros, the horn is not made of bone. It's actually made of keratin or hair. That's basically what it's made of. And when you actually look at Indricotherium, its size was its main defense. Now, there's not a lot of fossils that have been found of this animal, so pretty much fossils are very limited for Indricotherium. And with Indricotherium, it actually is very slow, heavy animal, considering with its size. And if you actually want to talk about rhinos are bulky, they're heavy, and they do not use speed very much. And a modern rhinoceros can go pretty fast, but only for a short distance. With Indricotherium, it does not need to be fast, because when you're actually that big, you don't need speed whatsoever. And Indricotherium would actually be the same size as would actually be the same height as pretty much like a Camarasaurus, or otherwise very close to a Brachiosaurus, but even though not as close to a Brachiosaurus size in terms of the height, is because Brachiosaurus was a tad bit taller. And when you actually look at the skull of Indricotherium as well, is that paleontologists believe that there was like a kind of like a kind of like almost like an appendage on the nose, like kind of like a lip. Basically, it's like an elongated lip, and rhinos tend to have this. Now, it's not like a trunk like an elephant, and you see with Indricotherium you probably don't need a trunk, but since that it has this like kind of like an overbite lip, like this elongated lip, it probably used it to actually grab plants, and that's pretty much what rhinos do. They use their lips to actually grab the plants. They don't use their teeth, and you see most of their teeth are in the back. And when you're a rhino, you need to have muscular lips to actually pull the plants off of the trees or the bushes or otherwise grass. But in Indricotherium's case, it did not eat grass. It actually ate leaves from shrubs and trees. The young Indricotheriums would actually have been able to actually eat leaves from basically low shrubbing plants. And in terms of how you can see, Indricotherium is very familiar in the TV series Walking with Prehistoric Beasts, because it was basically taking place in Asia, Mongolia, in the Oligocene epoch, following this mother and calf through the years of the calf's life. But even though it actually kind of cuts to the point where the calf actually has got to its own territory, so it's kind of actually an interesting kind of story for that. But the animals that would have been around Indricotherium were kind of a bit strange, basically. There would have been some bear dogs, but they would have probably been the small bear dogs. Now, bear dogs, for what a lot of you probably wouldn't know, or some of you have know, is this carnivorous mammal that is actually kind of like almost in between a dog and a bear, and they both have similar features to dogs and bears. And they would have very small. They would have been very small compared to an Indricotherium, and basically they probably wouldn't even need to actually go after an Indricotherium because it's too big to eat, and pretty much they would have been after smaller animals, basically. Now, there would have been entelodonts around it, but even though the fossils in Asia for entelodonts are very rare, and reasons why is because you see is that the entelodonts that were in Walking with Beasts were basically animals called Daeodon, and Daeodon is actually a large entelodont, and pretty much they would have not have been able to go after an Indricotherium, but they would have probably gone after a young one. But even though they were mostly scavengers, an Indricotherium did not make it to North America. Let's just actually be clear about that. It's because rhinos in North America were becoming very rare in the Oligocene epoch. And with large because the large relatives of rhinos, the Indricotheriums, were pretty much the largest mammals that have ever existed on land, basically. They were the largest land mammals that have ever lived. And mammoths were very close. The Columbian mammoth got really close. But in terms of mass, it would have never actually have come close. Because I believe a Columbian mammoth could actually go between 10 to 13 tons, if I remember correctly. But Indricotheriums were really heavy, is because since if they were kind of like rhinos, they would have actually been really, really heavily muscled. They would have been heavily muscled, and of course, extinction of this animal would have basically been changing of the environment, and pretty much that the cooling climate pretty much actually made Indricotheriums kind of actually either had to go someplace warmer where they can actually adapt a little bit better, or otherwise they couldn't leave. They figured that this was their only place to live, and then they pretty much died out. and pretty much died in starvation. And also the reason why another reason why Indricotheriums kind of became extinct is because small numbers. And when you're that big, your populations are really, really small. So you don't, because basically you're taking up a lot of space. And if there were like 10,000 Indricotheriums in Mongolia, you're pretty much crowding everybody else. So pretty much you're gonna have to separate. And I would think there would probably have been 10,000 Indricotheriums in the Oligocene, but even though they would have been scattered, they would probably living on their own, not really no social bonding of any kind besides mating, and that would have probably have been what the Indricotherium's life would have been like. Alright, and next week would actually be an answering questions episode, so if you got a question about dinosaurs or any other prehistoric life, feel free to email me at dinochrist71@gmail.com, or the ways you could go on my Facebook page, Prehistoric Facts with Dino Chris. Like the page, you can actually post your questions in the comment section on any Facebook post. But remember, keep your questions short and to the point. And I'm willing to have 2 to 3 questions in the same post or email. But make sure you keep your questions short and to the point. And also, you can follow me on Twitter at CSGRALL. That's my Twitter page, and like it or follow me. And then I post pretty cool stuff there. And also, take care of the people around you. And also, for younger people out there, make sure to listen to your parents, your teachers, and your guardians. Those are the best motivation you can have for a good education. It's very important to have a good education, because with a good education, you get a good job in the future. All right, that's it for now, and I'll see you guys next week.